Hello, welcome to another exciting time on the IBM TV. If you check your time, it is 9 a.m. EST, Eastern Standard Time. It's also 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So I'm saying good morning to all our viewers in the US, in Canada, in Jamaica, in Cuba, Mexico, and Peru. It's 3 p.m. Central African Time. So it's also um, afternoon at Botswana, Burundi, Egypt, Libya, Rwanda, and South Africa. And it's also 2 p.m. Nigeria time. It's also 6:30 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So I'm saying good evening to all Asia. And today it's quite different from the normal shows you see on the IBM TV, especially on Mind Closet 101. Today we'll be talking about a very important topic, which some of us really don't like talking about, but we need to talk about it. It's about family. And today we will be having awesome guests. First of all, I would love to introduce my boss. She's also a producer and also a presenter on the IBM TV, Kim Lee. It's a pleasure to also have on the show today. And yeah, she's also a senior executive producer of the IBM TV. Kimberly, thank you for joining the show. Yes, it's tradition in IBM TV to greet Namaste. Yes, you're welcome.
Thank you for inviting me today, Michael. This is really great.
Thank you for having you. And actually, we have a where we'll talk about, we'll tell a little story, an African story before going into the show. But today I have somebody that I feel would do that. She is, she's a storyteller, a writer, a blogger, filmmaker, content developer, ghostwriter. She's a marketing, communication, and media production consultant. She's a chartered marketer, content creator. Well, I'll tell you this. She can help you make your business make money online. She studied at Nigerian Indigenous University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Orange Academy, and also Chartered Institute of Marketing. In 2011, she was overall best graduating student of the Orange Academy, integrated brand experience, best advert pitch, Gino Tomato paste advert project, best presentation 5 minutes company setup pitch. In 2015, she also won the Manager of the Year and Staff of the Year 2015 Rhapsody of Realities. She's married to a pastor who is Pastor Stanley Onyebum, with 2 handsome boys in Keman or Okemdima. Yes. She speaks Igbo, English, and French fluently. Her name is Mrs. Obiamaka Onyebum. Sorry for that bad pronunciation. Actually, I'm Igbo, man. I don't know why I'm getting it difficult this afternoon. So, yes, welcome, Mrs. Obiamaka Onyebum. Your mic is mute. Good to have you. Good to have you on the show.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Hello, Kimberly.
So it's
hello.
Yeah.
Hello, Obiamaka.
Namaste.
Namaste. Explain to me how to say your name, because I didn't hear it. How do you pronounce your name?
Obiamaka.
Obiamaka. Okay.
Yes, Obiamaka.
Obiamaka.
Yeah, Obiamaka, you'll be telling us good morning in French, Igbo, and you'll be telling us also good afternoon in French and Igbo, and also good evening to our viewers at Asia in French and also in Igbo. So go ahead.
Okay, in Igbo, we say Ndewo when you greet. We say Ndewo.
Yeah.
And Ndewo can mean good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. And these days, some people say Ototuoma. Ototuoma is the literal translation of good morning. So you can say
Okay.
Ototo Oma Ndebanye, good morning,
Yeah.
Ndebanye. Or you can say Isalachi, Etetago,
Yeah.
have you woken up? Have you seen the
Yeah.
day? So these
Yeah.
are all the ways we say good morning in Igbo. Then for French, it's bonjour. Bonjour, mes amis. Good morning, my friends. Then some say bon appétit. Bon après-midi is usually African. Then you have bonsoir.
Okay.
Bonsoir is good evening. So it's bonjour, bon après-midi, and bonsoir. Ototo mande bani, isalachi, ndewo. Then if you're going to
Good.
bed at night, you say
Yeah.
kachifo.
Got you from. Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you. We also have another guest. He's a social worker, a therapist, business and life coach, a counselor, self-discovery coach. He's a trainer, husband, father, social reformer. He's born to lead God's people on the out of ignorance. Yes, he's from Kogi State, Nigeria. He studied at Laduke Akintola University of Technology and also the University of Ilorin. He's a member of the Association of Advocates Against Alcohol, HAM in Nigeria, zonal coordinator at Community Intervention Network on Drugs, Southwest, president of Discovery and Empowerment Initiative Nigeria, former advocacy and training coordinator at Freedom Foundation Nigeria. He lives in Nigerian ancient and populous city, which is Ibadan, southwest Nigeria. Married to Nelma Samuel Kayode and blessed with two boys, Jaden and Praise. He speaks Yoruba and English friendly. His name is Olusegun Samuel Kayode. Well, Kayode is actually part of my guest on the IBM on Mind Closet 101 IBM TV. So hope you're on. All right. While we wait for him, I think he just went off. Actually, today we're talking about family. And before we start, Obiamaka, please help us as a storyteller. Give us an African story for today.
Okay, so in Africa, in the eastern part of Nigeria, where I come from, when we tell stories, we talk a lot about Mbe, the tortoise. And growing up,
Okay.
my mother would tell us a lot of stories about Mbe. So today, in honor of my mom, I'm going to be telling us a story about Mbe. And before you start an African story in Igbo, you say chape. If I say chape, you say war. Chape.
Whoa.
Good.
Gibney, did you get that?
Yes. Chape.
Did you get that?
War.
Whoa.
War. Yes. That means the story is about to start. In English, they would say once upon a time. But in Igbo land, we say chape war, and
Whoa.
then you say some other things. But I'm going to skip them for now and go straight to the story. So, what story am I going to tell us today? It's a fable about Mbe, the tortoise. Mbe is known to be very cunning, and it's not just in Igbo land. Also in Ghana, Mbe is known as Anansewa, and they have a lot of story about Ananse, the tortoise. So, in this
Okay.
particular story, there was famine in the land of the animals, and Mbe made himself he was actually interested in becoming the leader of the animals. Usually, the lion is the king of the jungle, but this time around, Mbe, the tortoise, felt that if he could help solve the problem of the animals, why not become their leader? So he went on the journey in search of food. And usually in the Imbe story, he would trek, he would go for miles, and he would cross seven seas and seven rivers. So in this particular story, Mbe started his journey. When Mbe is moving, we sing a song. You say Mbagaba. That means Mbe is moving. And the listeners say Ajam Bene. So I'm going to say Mbagaba and you say Ajam Bene. So can we say that? Mbagaba
Ajambele.
Ajambele. Mbagaba Ajambele.
Ajambele.
Mama.
No, I will say Mbagaba and you say Ajambene.
Ajam,
Mbagaba
Ajambele.
Ajambene.
Bele.
Good. Mbagaba Ajambene.
Ajambele.
Thank you. So Mbe started his journey, and this journey took him to a palm tree. A palm tree has palm nuts.
Yeah.
Now, when he got there, he was able to get one huge palm nut. He climbed the tree, and in getting the palm nut fell. The palm nut fell to the ground, and Mbe went after the palm nut. But the palm nut kept rolling. And you see, Mbe was really hungry. He needed to eat this palm nut. He kept chasing the palm nut. He fell into a hole. And Mbe went after the palm nut, but discovered he had entered the land of the spirits. And
Whoa.
as he got there, he saw a little spirit being eating the palm nut. And Mbe told him, "Give me back my palm nut." He said, "I'm sorry, I can't give it to you. I've eaten it." Mbe said, "Okay, that means I'm going to take you back to the land of the animals and they're going to eat you because I was looking for food." But the spirit's parents came to his rescue. They told Mbe, "We're going to give you a drum. Whenever you hit this drum, food is going to come out. Now take this drum back to your kingdom, play the drum, and food will come out." Mbe was happy. He took the drum and he traveled all the way back. When he got back to the land of the animals, he entered his house, called his wives and children, and he started hitting the drum. And the drum went wamputu wamputu ebani nofe. That means doom, doom. A drum for food, food and soup. And he was playing the drum, food was coming out, all manner of food. You know, we like food really. He had pounded yam, a goosey soup, bitter leaf soup, all sorts of meat, well cooked food.
Wow.
They came out
Wow.
and he ate with his family.
Wow.
After they had done eating, he went out to the village square and summoned all the animals. They came together and Mbe said, "Today I'm going to feed all of you. And when I'm done, I'm going to become your king." They didn't believe him. I mean, he had just a little drum. He started playing the drum. Wamputu, wamputu, ibani nofe. And food came out. And all the animals ate and they were happy. But they now made Mbe the king. That meant Mbe was to give them food every day. But then one day, the drum broke. That means Mbe's tenure was practically over, except he got another drum that had food. So Mbe retraced his
Okay.
steps back to that palm tree. When he went there, there were no more nuts, but he managed to find one nut. He took the nut and threw it down the spirit hole. But this time around, the spirit boy already knew who Mbe was and he refused to eat the palm nut. So when Mbe came in into the spirit land, the spirit boy said, "Here is your palm nut." He said, "No, eat it. I gave it to you as a gift." And the boy said, "Are you sure?" He said, "Yes, you can have it." And he ate the palm nut. And Mbe said, "Now I want my palm nut back. Or you give me another drum." This time around, This time around, the spirit's parents took him to where they kept the drums and they said, "Okay, Tortoise, pick your own drum." Mbe looked at everything. He saw other smaller drums, but he went for the biggest one. He took the biggest one. And once he didn't even say thank you, he ran out of that place and started running back to the land of the animals. As soon as he got there, he called his family again together and beat the drum. But instead of food, what he got were masquerades. Masquerades are
Whoa.
terrible looking spirit beings that would flog you. They started flogging Mbe and his family, and he was so scared. He quickly stopped beating the drum and he called all the animals together and said, "I've brought a bigger drum. Let's enjoy this time around." And what happened as he beat the drum, the spirit beings came out and they flogged all the animals. And
Whoa.
that was how the story ended. Now, the moral of the story is don't be greedy. Thank you.
Wow.
Be careful of the
Wow.
drum you pick. That's the other moral of the story, right? The bigger the drum. Wow,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
What a
you.
beautiful
Thank you,
story. I
Obiamaka.
love it.
Thank you for
Thank you
that
very much.
story.
You're welcome.
We have Samuel Kayode on the line. Actually, we've done his introduction. So, Kayode, you're welcome. You're welcome. My Closet 101 is a life coaching show that gives people the platform to ask questions. They have been locked in the closet of their mind. Also, have a one-on-one avenue for people to freely interact and express their inner thoughts without being judged, where everyone can learn from different experiences, opinions, and not only permitted to talk about their victories, success, but also their failures and burdens. Our slogan here is: if you're perfect, be the first to cast a stone, judge not, and you shall not be judged. To all our viewers on Facebook, if you're watching on the IDM TV Facebook page, also on IDM TV YouTube channels, and My Closet 101. We'll ask you to please feel free to send us your messages, contribution, experiences, also questions for the show on today's topic. And we're really going straight to business. Today it's about family. Family, actually, I know for my own definition, it's actually a group of people related by blood or ancestries. To others, it has nothing to do with genes or everything, but to do with love, compassion, and support. Kimberly, what's your own point? What's your take on family? Your definition of family?
I think a family has unconditional love, forgiveness. They work together. They pull together when in good times and bad. They don't rely on them just during the bad times or oh I need this, I need that. They are always there for any moment in life. And family isn't who you're born with. We're all born from the same tree. So your family
Yeah,
could be somebody from another country and you go, wow, we connect. We understand each other. We have the same mindset, like your mind closet, right?
yeah.
So that's what family is to me is people who can unite and connect on the same values, the same missions. And sometimes we're not agreeing. That's okay, but that's what my to me that's what a good family is, good and bad. You work through it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. We also have a therapist here who I would like to ask what family is all about. Samuel, what's your what is the term family? That's the meaning of family when it comes to your your field.
Okay. Family is people related by blood
Yeah.
or by law. Now,
Okay.
by blood means the same ancestry, come from the same family tree, the biological relationship. That's the,
Yeah.
when we talk about blood. And then we have the other one, which is by law. I can decide to
Yeah.
adopt a child. The moment I am through with the legal documentation, that child becomes a part of my family.
Yeah.
So anything my other children have access to, he or she also will have access to them. So it's also, family. Then we can also look at the traditional um, African definition of family. Anyone that is connected to you from the same area. There's this common saying in Nigeria when you travel to the east and you're from the south and you hear someone speaking your dialect, you say, oh, that's my country person.
Yeah.
So, that's another definition of family, the traditional method. But looking at it from the social side of it, by blood or legally.
Okay. Okay. Abiamaka, what does the Bible? I know you're a minister in making. Actually, you're a minister, but you soon be a pastor. So you soon be ordained a pastor. So you're coming in from the spiritual angle. What does the Bible talk say about family? What's the Bible? That's the spiritual, the Christian definition of family.
Okay, in the beginning, God
Yeah,
made man, okay, and he didn't
yeah,
want man to be alone. So he gave me a wife and he told them, be fruitful and multiply. So that became the family that God instituted, the man, his wife, and the children they have. Okay. And then, but this was supposed to serve like what you call a type. A type means like a demonstration of what is coming. God
okay,
was basically showing that in time to come, he would have a family for himself. Okay. And that's what we have in the
yeah,
New Testament, where God now calls everyone who is a Christian to become a member of his family, the spiritual family. So that brings me to the body of Christ as a family. When you decide within you that you're accepting what Jesus Christ did for you on the cross of Calvary, become a member of the family of God. This is a spiritual family where God is the Father. Okay. Now, did God create everyone? Yes, God created everyone, but not everyone has a relationship with God. So when you accept what Jesus Christ did on the cross of Calvary, you become what we call awakened to the fatherhood of God. At that point, you're saying, God, I believe you're my father. I accept to live as your child and do what you would have me to do as I'm enabled by Jesus Christ. So you become a part of what we call the body of Christ, the family of God, okay, washed by one blood, the blood of Jesus Christ. It's a blood relationship. The relationship is by the blood of Jesus Christ. And this has to do with every member of the body of Christ all over the world, irrespective of language, of tribe, of whatever. We're all brothers and sisters in Christ.
Christ.
So that's the definition of family, spiritual family.
Okay.
Thank you.
Um, well, actually, before we go into the cause and the values, as the values and the cultures of family, I want us to talk a little bit about history of our families. Like I have a history of my own family, six generations on my father's side, and I think I have two on my mother's side. Kimberly, do you have a history of your family?
Do I have a history of family?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course I do. But my parents have passed away. My aunts and uncles, majority of them are deceased as well. I have some siblings. One I'm very, very close with, and the others are very far away. Yeah, I have a history of good values that I believe my parents instilled in us. But yeah, just but my family's even bigger than that. I have children, and one natural born child, and other children that I brought into our home to help them get into life. Yeah, my family's very, very big. People I adopt along the way. You know, you meet people who really don't have family
Yeah.
anymore, and you
Yeah.
bring them into your heart and home. So I have lots of family, and I love them all. Actually, a lot of my friends are closer to me than as family, right? And what about you, Michael?
Well, I come from a very big family actually, and I can recall six generations of my father. Yes, of my father's line. Like I can remember the greatest grand. His name is Obunse. Actually, he comes from a family which is Izwara. So Izwara gave birth to Obunse. Now Obunse now gave birth to my great grandfather. Yes, who his name is Umera, which is my surname. So Umera now broke away from Obunse to have his own line. That is Umera. Then Umera gave birth to my own grandfather. His name is Francis, and Francis gave birth to my dad, while whose name is Ifeka. Then Ifeka gave birth to me. Now that's about one, two, three, four. So I'm like the fifth, sixth generation of the Sura family. Well, my grandma's side, I have the Honora family, who were first from Ayibunam, then they got to Honora. Then Honora gave birth to my grandma, who got married to my grandfather. So you can see. So I just have little histories about them. And why we're doing this is for people to really get to know, do they really know the history? Do they really know their families? That's why I just wanted to pop up that question.
Yeah,
I
no,
hope
and
you
it's good to share. And I'm, big families, small families. I think at the end of the day, we have big families if we have friends. And that's what's
understand.
important, right? Is that we unite, not just as blood united. Because our lineage is interesting, right? You can go back to, 10, 15 generations
Sure. Yeah.
researching. And mine is quite complicated because my family came from all over the world. My
Whoa.
right? So I have English, Irish, German, French, and Native American Indian. So, and I married Scott, right?
Wow.
So, there's all of this intermix, right? And the more I study and research, the more I learn that I'm just a mix of many different races, nationalities, um, and I don't think that at the end of the day, I think it helps identify us in a lot of ways. But I think it's the values we're taught from home as we grow up, and the values we pick up along the way at schools or from the villages. Um, we once had a teacher who said it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
And I love that saying because that's what creates that child's foundation and roots. Your home is, right? Children, whenever children lose their way, where do they come back to?
The home.
Right. Even sometimes in your mind, if you're far, far away, you can close your eyes, right? And you go back home, you feel better. So that's what I believe, right? But let's tell some more stories. I love the storytelling. That's my favorite. Hey, why not? I mean, because we learn from those, right? We learn from those stories.
All right. Obi Amaka, you heard her. She likes the story.
Yes.
So you're from the Igbo part of the eastern part of Nigeria, which is the Igbo tribe.
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Yes, and like Samuel said, if you meet you meet someone that speaks your language, irrespective of your state, your village, you say you're my country person. So, like I'll say, you're my country person, right? Yeah. So Kimberly says she likes the story, and she would like you to tell us a little bit another story, if you don't mind. But before then,
just put
can you
somebody on
tell
the
us
spot,
your
right?
history? All right. All
You
right.
don't have but I love this conversation because it's very, very important to understand your roots, right?
Rich,
But
yeah.
it's also important to understand the tree that grows, and some trees they go far, far away, and you might not ever see them again, right? Some people from your family they travel far, far away, just like a seed would float into the air and go somewhere else to grow. That doesn't mean that you don't have family because you still have the people that you bring into your life. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people right now, maybe this is a good conversation. COVID has made people feel alone, detached, and separated. And we're not
True.
used to that, right? We're used to being connected in some way by nature, right?
Yeah.
For the tortoise, by nature connects us. Our values. We're not used to being told no, you can't do. Well, we're used to the word no.
Yeah.
We hear that 1,000 times a day, but to lose that connectivity that we're used to, how do we re-engage that? So that's some of these conversations, like I'm used to having a family gathering 4 or 5 times a year, or we
Wow.
travel with the
That's
family, right? Or they come and travel in. And as you got older, the fewer came in, but you still hold the meeting, and whoever can come can come. But now, because of COVID, we don't do that, right? And then you don't even call anymore, right? You start detaching, and that's not healthy. That's not the way we're designed. And
true.
maybe you can come up with some ideas on how we can um, reassociate ourselves.
Okay. Let's go with Mr. Samuel. How do we get back our connection, that connection that we used to have just because of COVID? COVID just separated us from that bond and that family. What can we do to get back to it?
I'm not too sure we have been disconnected. I think
Okay.
depending on the way we see things, COVID
Okay.
should have helped a lot of people to bond. with their family
Okay.
member. And what am I saying? I hardly stay home with my children before COVID. Go out early in the morning and then come back late at night. Sometimes I'm even away from the states where they are for months and I will not have access to them. And so anytime I take my children out, I hear something like they want to refer to me but say mom instead of dad. So now when we talk, they can talk more of dad, not mom anymore. I mean that's
All
just
right.
one aspect of it. And then the other aspect of it I'm looking at is it has to do with your background or the
Mm,
foundation or the upbringing. There's some family that from the beginning there is no connection, there is no much bonding.
true.
In situation like COVID, nobody cares about each other, everybody is dispersed. But there are some family right from childhood before, I mean, they can't leave each other for long. They are always calling up, checking on each other. How are you? Where have you been? What's going on? They want to know what's going on about each other. Now, such family with COVID, the bond will be more. Now, to your question, what can we do for those who have already been disconnected? Now, things that can be done are one, you have to be intentional. That's just
Okay.
one thing that others will come out from. You have to be intentional. You might not be close with your sibling. Make an
Yeah.
intentional effort to bridge the gap. I always hear this when I was growing up. If you don't have a good background and you have identified that there's a problem, then rebuild your foundation. That's one thing my
Mm,
grandma used to say. If you know you have a faulty background and you have identified it, build the background, the foundation. If you have what it takes, and if you need other people's help, call out for help so they can rebuild the foundation. So if you know you have issues with your sibling, it's time to build and mend. I, based on the job I do, I have seen a lot of people regretting that when their loved ones or their family members dying because they had issues, they refused to go. And at the point
yeah.
of their death, the other individual was requesting to see the other one not
Yeah.
willing to go. And at the demise of such individual, they are feeling guilty, not happy about what they've done. So you have to be intentional about it. You don't have to wait until someone dies before you feel, oh, I've missed someone. Be intentional.
True.
Two, take the time to reach out to them. It's going to be absurd. I've not been calling him for years. How will I call him suddenly? Take that bold step, and you'll be amazed that that call will break a lot of barrier. That call will cause a lot of healing and bonding. But sometimes, because of our ego, we don't want to be the first to call. We don't want to be seen as we are weak or we are not emotionally strong. What will it cost you to be seen as emotionally weak and have your family intact and trying to prove that you have emotion that is strong and you don't have a family to fall back to? In this part of the world, especially Africa, one thing about Africa is we are one big family.
Yeah.
And for people in Africa, especially Nigeria, we have this saying, everybody is my brother. Even my cousin, you regard to them as your brother, your nephew,
True.
your niece. We don't have the nomenclature of cousins, nephew. We are one big family. That's the way we see
True.
ourselves. So
True.
it's time to go back to this old tradition of family value, of mending and being intentional. And there's this Yoruba proverb that says, if the younger one refuses to check on the older can take the responsibility of checking on the younger one. So there's
True.
nothing bad in being intentional. Let's just go out and then tell yourself, this is my family first before an issue happens. So I need to mend the broken foundation.
Thank you. Obiamaka, what's your take on reconnecting to the church? Because during COVID, churches were not were not active. People could not go to church, and some believed that the because of that, members of the church would go cold in terms of worship. So, what's your take on? Because also the church is also a family. We're coming from that angle as well. So, what's your take
Yeah.
on that? What can we do to reconnect that bond?
Thank you so much. Talking about the church being a family, it's a family that provides a huge emotional and spiritual support. I know,
Yeah,
especially during the COVID-19 lockdown, which we're still in a way, a lot of
yeah,
people were afraid. They didn't know what to think. They didn't know what to expect. They were afraid, are we going to all die? But I'm grateful that the church provided the support and the encouragement that we needed to know that, oh, we're not all going to die. We're going to be fine and we're going to come through this. Now, how was the church able to do that? A lot of churches were able to migrate to online service. Okay, we took advantage of technology. We connected via several messaging platforms, via WhatsApp, via Zoom, via Facebook, and even YouTube. So, how do you remain in touch? Now, some people might say, because I'm not able to go to church physically anymore, I feel distanced from my brothers and sisters in Christ, but that doesn't have to be, okay? Like Sam had said, you have to be intentional about connecting with other believers and knowing that it's not the same where you may be able to sit down in fellowship and have long chats and long conversations, but you can connect through the prayer meetings. Personally, we still having a lot of prayer meetings online in the morning, sometimes in the evening. So we come together and we pray and we strengthen one another. Just by being in a prayer meeting alone, you feel refreshed, you feel connected. I know, funnily, I'm going to tell a story again. We had a Thanksgiving service online during this lockdown
okay,
period, and it was beautiful. Usually, during Thanksgiving service, we all go to church dressed in traditional attires, wherever you're from. You come in that attire or you wear something central. But this period was the midweek
yeah,
Thanksgiving. We couldn't go to church physically. So what did we do? We had a virtual Thanksgiving service. It was on Zoom. And it got to a point in the service, every family had to turn on their Zoom camera and we spotlighted people's video. So when it was your turn, the pastor would call your name and together with your family, you will be dancing. I know it was beautiful. It was really, really because this time around we were thanking God from our hearts. Okay. We could have been
Mm.
complaining, oh, I'm at home, I'm not connecting with other people, but we
yeah,
chose to be grateful. The
yeah,
fact that we're all alive, the fact that we're celebrating this. Okay, so we're all dancing where we were and we're all spotlighted and everybody was happy, everybody was joyful. At the end, we all shared the grace together. So we have to be intentional. Don't keep away from the meetings. Don't say, oh, they are just online, it's not the same. No, by connecting online, you're forming a connection. By communicating, you're forming a connection, and that would help. That would help take away the stress. That would help to refresh your mind so that you don't feel depressed. That would help to keep you happy. So, my encouragement is that everyone should ensure they maintain that connection with the church family, albeit online. And as soon as the lockdown is eased, if you're able to, then please make it physically to church and reconnect with other believers. Thank you.
wow,
Oh, that is beautiful. That's
honestly,
I love the fact that you connected online for event.
Yeah.
That takes a lot of motivation, especially for people who are kind of depressed. You might notice that maybe somebody isn't showing up to some of the Zoom opportunities,
yeah,
maybe because they're not comfortable with it. Maybe they're just very, very depressed. I would say, like Samuel was talking about, reach out to some of the people as well, like the older people who might not have anyone who watches over them. And they've been pretty independent. They would come to church every Sunday, but maybe coming to Zoom just isn't. And those are the people we need to kind of focus on a little bit and say, hey, but I think it's beautiful. I mean, it's hard to coordinate those.
Okay. Let me add that we also have what
honestly,
what we
yes, it
call
is.
service centers. Okay, just little groups.
Okay.
Like
Yeah.
personally, I have another family that comes to worship with me in my home. So we have that going on, so that nobody is left out. Okay, we reach out through phone calls. We've not been able to meet in person. So they do have access to internet. Are we still on? Hello? Okay. So they do have access to internet, and can you
Yeah.
meet up
Yeah.
with
We
someone?
can hear
So
you.
we observe all hygiene. Okay. So we observe all that hygiene, and we come together in little groups as permitted to have fellowship. So as much as possible, everybody is reached out to and everybody is involved. Just so people are not being left out.
Samuel, let me ask you this. Why must we have a family as a therapist?
Hmm. Um, Let me go back to one of the old school definition of family as the smallest unit of a community. That's the
Yeah.
smallest unit of any community. And
Okay. I think the network is really hitting him hard.
um,
Okay.
not a
He's back.
family
Thank God.
existence. So if my father did not meet my mom, I will not be alive. Then the next thing that comes up is love for every parent.
Yeah.
When they give back to their children, they love. So the first place a child or an individual learn to love is from the family. That's the first
Mm,
home where you are trained to love. I
yeah.
mean, I heard in one of my research work, I heard that in Israel, there's a particular period of time a male child, is allowed to stay with his mother for a few years to learn compassion and love. Then after age
Wow.
of 6, he is now transferred to, staying more with his father so that he can learn the act of being a man. So he can balance the equation of having emotion and how to control his emotions, you know, in making judgments and decisions.
Mm,
The same thing happens in the family, like Kimberly said, it takes a family to give birth to a child, but a whole community to raise the child. So your father will train you, your mother will train you, your
true.
brothers, your uncles, your aunties, and nephew. So that's the first place for love, for support. Now, I'll just quickly mention in addiction, in substance use, when we are treating them, there's what we call recovery capital. Now, family is also part of your recovery capital because when a person has drug use or
Mm,
substance or chemical dependence issue and they walk up to any rehabilitation in Nigeria, one of the things we want to do is we want to meet someone from the family who will be responsible for this individual, who can be like his mentor or someone he's responsible to. So now the recovery capital is there, the support system is there. After you have been discharged from the hospital or from the rehab center, you are referred back to your family for monitoring and support system aftercare to go on with it. So we have the support system. If anybody has issues, like she said, you want to go back home to your family. Your family is the first person you want to
mm,
share with. You are having challenges, you want to share with your family.
true.
Now, also, family is the place where we get the framework of value system. Family is where you are trained
Yeah.
to have value in some family. Like okay, I'll use myself as an example. When my mom died 37 years ago, and my dad told all the male child, nobody, I'm not going to get an house help for you guys. So you have to learn how to pound yam. You have to learn how to make a bar. You have to learn to do things that
For yourself.
naturally other young men will not want to do. So you have to. If I pound yam
True.
for you here, you lift your finger. That's a value. And another value he created in us is you don't disrespect a woman. On
Mm,
no circumstance must you
circumstances.
disrespect a woman. I was going out some times ago with a like I think about 18 years ago, and I opened the door for a lady to go in, you know, pull the chair for her to sit down. And she looked at me
Yeah.
and
Wow.
was like, wow. your wife will enjoy you. Why? Because my those were things, those were the values I got from the family system, where my father knew my mom is not available, she's late. So I have to train them. He was acting as a father and as a mother at the same time. So he had to
Mother,
teach us that. And so the family value is transferred to the children at this point. Now, at this point also is when you get to understand the impact of family system. Because some parents, like my grandma, she spoiled me silly, and she also disciplined me like nothing will ever happen. So
true,
she balanced the
true.
two. Now, anytime grandma disciplines me, she allows me to cry. And when I'm halfway done, then she calls me, sits me down, and tells me the reason for the punitive actions, why that was taken against me. So at the family level, you also get this training. Then you have security in the family system. Now, there's no responsible father that will just leave his family without protecting them. So there's that protection the father gives to the children. Now, when we are looking at emotion, we look at, protection. We have the emotion in the aspect of emotion. Some children just need emotional protection. They need that umbrella of love to prove that they are loved, they are valued. Because some children are highly sensitive. For
Yeah,
sensitive children and parents who understand sensitive children, they kind of give them the protection they need, emotional protection, physical protection, and spiritual protection. I'm not going to the spiritual side because we have someone that will handle that. And then that is also the process where a child's future is shaped. Just this morning, I was just thinking of some things and hearing some stories about a family, and I just heard in my spirit that raise the kind of generation you want to see. That many problems we are facing today was as a result of what some people planted yesterday. And the joy we see in some people was as a result of what some people planted yesterday. So we see some people planted a good seed, some people planted the bad seed. We are seeing everything in this generation. So in the family, it's a process where you plant seed, and like someone rightly said, you cannot plant a wind and not get a storm. Thank you.
True. Ah, but that very gesture you did for a woman trying to open the door for her and pull out the chair, that's not the African men mentality. It's not our character. It's actually that of the West.
Funny enough, it is. In those days, like my grandma would tell me that her husband will help her carry things, carry her
Okay,
bag. But the truth is,
okay,
okay, it has to also do with culture. Some culture may not
yes,
do that, but some culture do that.
yes,
And then there are some men
okay.
they are just, sorry, permit me to use, they are just incredible Hulk. They want to be seen as King Kong. We are in charge. And so they want to they want to conquer the women, which should not be. And all this starts from the family.
Yes, true. But and I, it's not super
Superheroes.
aggressive, but I know, yeah, yeah, I know. Some family have this mentality that men do the whole, stuff, while the women, their duty is just to stay at home, take care of the kids, and kitchen, while the man is just the master, the lord over the house, over the family.
Mm,
And this really affects most of us while growing up, because I remember of a time where we're trying to talk about helping wives at home. And I was telling a friend, did he help his wife with the baby at night, when doing this babysitting at night? If he did, and he was like, no, 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 I wasn't brought up that manner. It's all left for the women to do that. Me and the man, I just wake up, I go out in the morning, I fend for my family, I don't have to look after the child. And I was asking him, where would you and your child bond? Where's that room you try and create for bonding? So if you look at that kind of scenario, you see that he has that mentality of mother, children, then I, the father,
Yeah.
just fend for the family. You understand? And I'll tell you, to my own understanding, which I think you still help us on, 80% of Nigerians still think that man is a man's world, so man should just fend for his family, while women stick to their children. Do you agree with that statistics, please?
Hmm. That's looking at that question, I will answer it technically. There's no template for
I
family.
like that.
There's no particular template for
Yeah,
running family. So I think what works for family A will not work for family. So it's not a size fits all.
I
Now, there's
believe
some
true.
family, I've seen a man who was fending for his family, but was abusing his wife. You beat her, throw her off. I mean, I'm talking of high society family. And when he just probably something happened in his place of work, he comes back home, carry it out on the wife and beat her, injure her. There was a time I just saw her limping and she told me, oh, she sprained her, leg. Well, just to hear that it was the husband that threw her from from the upstairs and she got injured. Now,
Whoa,
there are some situations like that the woman becomes like a furniture. Why am I saying this? I provide for you. I bought the car. I bought this. So what are you complaining for? Now you don't allow the woman to have a say. So that kind of a woman becomes a conquered individual. So her mindset, her reasoning has been subjected to whatever the man says. And you have men like that making their wife look like they don't have common sense. That's why they can't make anything out of life. And yet you have some husband that allows their wife to work. Now, there's a common saying
sure.
in this part of the world. When you are married, your money as a man, it is our money. But when your wife makes money, it is her money. That's the mindset. Your
Yeah.
money is
I
our
like it.
money.
What's wrong with it?
And her
Oh,
money
you like
is
it?
her money. Now, another thing is if you have a property, it is our property.
Property.
Then, if she has some properties, it is her property. So that's the way, like Egos, the comedian, said that the husband was going out. The wife said, please, can I have some of our money? He said, I don't have money on me. He said, no, but you need to give us from our money. He said, if I give you our slap. So the what I'm saying, some men allow their wife to work and it works out well. I've seen some family that is the wife that is making the money, and nobody knows that the wife is the one fending for the family. They've been able to
True,
work out a
true.
modality that works for them. And you see some family is the husband. You see some family, the two of them come together, pull their resources together to work. However,
Sure.
you see some people, it's the wife that is fending for the husband. And so when the husband gives advice, they shut him down. If your advice is that good, why can't you make money by yourself? The same thing goes with the man. So
Sure.
it's two-way. Some family, they both come together. Some it's the male, some is the um, wife. So it is dependent. It varies from people to people and from belief system to belief system. That's my submission.
I love the analogy to, our money versus her money, our property versus her property. I think that I'm okay with that. But here's the thing: over time, and I love history. I'm not a history expert, but in the United States, women had to become the breadwinner when men went to war, right? We were accustomed to being at
Yeah.
home, taking care of the family, raising the family, but when the men left to go to war, you may think that they were making the money, but it wasn't enough to sustain the household, right? Usually, men who went to war, they were fed, clothed, and given a little bit of money to help them sustain, but it was not enough money back home. So the women had to go learn how to work. On top of, they would come home, and what did they have to do? They had to raise that child or children. They had to clothe them. They had to feed them. They had to wash the clothes. And back then, they didn't have wash machines like we have now. So they had to wash the clothes. They had to make sure the food was cooked. And sometimes when the kids got old enough, it was their job to help. So there's a lot that goes on that changes our culture and the way that we expect things to happen in each family and in each household. So that changed ours. I don't know how things changed in your culture. I find it interesting because in a lot of cultures, when women do start to go out to work, they're also expected to come home, cook, clean, do everything for the children. Whereas the men were always still engaged in their employment needs and networking, going out to network, because the men still made more money than the women did. So it's, the cultures I've watched kind of change a little bit over the years, but not so much for the women. Obi Amaka, what do you think about that?
Well, basically, I think we have to adapt with the time. Like Kimberly said, there was a time it was the men doing the work and bringing the money, and the women stayed home. But we had the industrial revolution. Women had to start working, and right now, women are allowed to pursue any career, or not just allowed. Women can, follow any career path that they want. That means the woman is working and the man is also working. So it means the roles are evolving. And for every family, like Samuel said, you have to figure out what works for you. But in figuring out what works for you, it's in the interest of everyone involved. The husband has to consider his wife. If you take it back to the Bible says, God told husbands, said, love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Wives.
How did Christ love your wife,
Yeah.
your husband? Yeah. Christ died for the church. That means it was a sacrificial love. So that means husbands are
Yeah.
expected to sacrifice. That means you're supposed to give your wife the best of life. Yes, not just being
Yeah.
a burden, expecting her to do everything. You see, she's tired, you're not offering to help, and especially when there is no help at home. In Africa, in some parts of Africa, you're able to get help because it's affordable to get help. Now, if you take it back to the days of the Bible, in the Proverbs 31 woman, the popular Proverbs 31 woman, she wasn't just taking care of the home and the children, which by the way is a lot of work.
It
Okay,
is a
taking care
lot of
of
work.
children is a whole lot of work. And I know some people are saying women should be paid for that. So in the Bible, the Proverbs 31 women, she had servants, she ran businesses, and she took care of her home. So I would say that know what works for your family. I really don't think I'm one person that believes that people should not compare. Don't say because A and B are living this way, we have to live that way. No. What would work for us? If in your family the woman is earning a lot more, okay, how can the man adjust? If the man is earning a lot more, how can the woman adjust? If we're both earning the same, how do we adjust? So everyone should look at what works for my family, what works for my wife, what works for my husband. Love being the preoperative word. You love this person the way Christ loved the church. What can I sacrifice to make her more comfortable? What can I sacrifice to make him more comfortable? So that's the angle I would like to look at it from. Thank you.
And I think that's beautiful. Sacrifice for the family. I wrote about this in my book, the sacrifices we make in building businesses, working every day. What are these sacrifices for? Are they really to benefit our family? Are they for us? And that's huge. That's a huge statement. The sacrifices we make for our family. Unfortunately, I've got a hard stop. I'm going to have to depart, but Wynn's going to continue directing. This has been a beautiful talk, and I hope that I'm invited to come back. Um,
Sure.
Michael. But I I have sacrifices I have to do for my bigger family, which is IBM TV. So thank you guys for being a part of it. I hope to see
Thank
you
you.
again. This was fun, and I will see you again. And everyone,
Thank
take
All right.
care. Thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Kim.
Right.
All right. Wow. she, I really loved her own experience here because she helped explain some things about the American family and
Yeah.
most of us in Africa don't know about. Now back to our topic. I would like to ask, Obiamaka, what's your tell us, give us a little history of your own family. Like how many generations do you know?
Okay, I met my maternal great grandparents.
All right.
Okay, yes, my maternal great grandmother and my maternal great grandfather. And the
Okay.
remarkable thing about them was how strong they were. Okay, the
Oh,
best I know about them, they were farmers. Okay, and they were quite strong, and that was really remarkable. And they lived really long. So it was beautiful knowing them. My great grandmother gave me a name. She called me Wononako.
wow.
That means a child in wealth. Yes, and I also met
Oh, one
my
alcohol. Okay.
Nwa Ononako, a child in wealth.
Wealth. Okay.
Nwa-
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
And I also met
One
my
alcohol.
maternal grandmother. Okay. And the interesting thing about it, what I've come to know by studying a bit about my family history is that I come from a family of dancers. My mom
Okay.
was a dancer
Yeah.
and a storyteller. My
Yeah.
grandmother, too, my maternal grandmother was a dancer, like they dance,
Okay.
in the women group. And also
Yeah.
my great grandmother, I remember witnessing one of her Odu taking ceremonies, and there was some dance routine to it and all. So I think that's really interesting. Now on my paternal side, I didn't meet any of my grandparents or my great grandparents, but I met my uncles and some grand uncles and grand aunties.
Okay.
So that's it.
All right. It's good to know your family history. Honestly, it's really good. Well,
Thank
Samuel, you're part of the reason why I brought up this topic because the day we got talking, when you gave me your ancestral history, man, my brother, I had to go do research about mine. Tell us, tell us, tell us about your own ancestral history.
um, it's and I think I can trace it back to late 16th century because
Hmm.
in both my father's lineage and they have this longevity. I think the least that dies is like 95 years old. That's the child that died at
Oh,
91. So they usually live long, except for my father's father, who died early. And his own was
okay,
as a result of a medical complication. In those days, there was no access to modern day antibiotics. So that caused a lot of issues. And after battling for years, with he now had TB and died. So but I can trace it to the warlord. That's they call him the warlord. And when there's this eulogy they give to us, and his name is always there, Baba Gbali. They call him the warlord. He went on behalf of our communities for war. And so people thought he had died because he had sent his boys and all the spoils of war back home. And he was not coming. So they were about crying. Then he came in gallantly on his horse. So that became like a title for his generations, that we thought we were about to shed tears, but he came in from the riverside on his horse gallantly. Then he has a son called Ologun. He was said to have been the tallest in that vicinity, and he was making tobacco. He used to make tobacco, and the metal he uses to pound the tobacco is, as at that time they say, is like 6 feet tall. That's the metal he's using. So if his metal is 6 feet tall, then he can't be anything less than maybe 9 feet thereabout.
sure.
And then they said he was referred to as a giant. They call him the moving tree. So, and then he has a son called Ilegbemi. Now that's his own son too. He became a warrior. He was also a warrior. And then Ilegbemi gave birth to Shatimen, who is my great grandfather, who is my grandfather. then who gave birth to my father, then my father gave birth to me. So that's the lineage. Now the lineage of my father's mother, both both his father and his mother's family, they are royal family. So he's a prince, whichever way he's a prince. So his great great grandfather is called Oba Olukosi. Now was reputed to be it was the first king to become a Christian and to be baptized in in the late 17th century. So he gave birth to my grandmother, and then my grandmother married my grandfather. They gave birth to me. So my mother's side is I only know I only heard of two generation, which is her grandfather who gave birth to her father, and then her father was educated to an extent, but because of financial constraints, he couldn't go further. He just had they call it standard 6 in those days, and then he started working with the railway corporation in those days and rose to high level, and then he retired, who gave birth to my mother. So I can trace these generations to 6 generations on my father's side and 2 on my mother's side.
Whoa, 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 whoa. That's really interesting, and I believe some of us really don't know the history. Now, well, I don't need
Yes.
to ask you if you can trace your family. You've already done that. What are family values and culture? Let's start with that.
Hmm. Family values, in summary, they are the way of life or the standard that has been created by a family. The standard, the way of life, the belief system, the rituals, the cultures of a family that they get involved in day to day. So those are values. Now let's give an example. Using mine as an example, one of the values in our family is never look down on anybody. That's one thing. Two, never become too arrogant for anything you do. You should never be arrogant in any way. You may be rich, you may be intelligent, but arrogance should not be one thing you should get involved with. And in that, there's a saying from that our lineage that says, "You may marry before me, but that doesn't mean you are marrying a more productive or a more fruitful wife than me.
Hmm.
You
Yeah.
may marry before me, but that doesn't mean you will marry a better partner than me. You may have children before me, but that doesn't mean your children will be better than mine." So it became like an unwritten policy us not to look down on anybody. And another value system is always help the less privileged and the helpless. In
Hmm.
fact, help those who cannot return back that help. That's like the value, the strong value, but the foundation, the base of everything, which happened to be my father's mantra, so to say, is God first.
Hmm.
Anything we want to do, God first. If you want to do anything, just know that God is the author and the finisher of everything. So without God, you are nothing. In God, you have your completeness. So God first, and is the standard and the base for everything we do. And another thing is that it sounds funny, but when you step out, dress well. That's from generation to another. When you step out, dress well. Don't
Hmm.
don't overdress, but don't
Yeah.
underdress, because anytime you can be invited to stand before the king. Reason being,
Hmm.
from the royal family, and my father was supposed to be the king. The mother said no, that his son was young, during the World War. Like he can't be the king, just let him be when he grows up. So anytime people can come from the community to our house to settle dispute, as at that time there was no king, so they were thinking of making my grandmother, the first regent, so female, and people just walk in. So, and she had been raised in the palace to being a daughter of the king. So there's this way of when you see any one of us, everybody's always looking dapper at all times, because anywhere you go to, you can be invited to high table. So if you are wearing slippers, then
Sorry.
the other one is kings don't eat on the street. So
Whoa.
if you are walking outside and you buy corn, if there's nothing bad in buying corn, but then you start
Yeah, I
eating it
understand.
on the street,
Truth.
it is not a true representation of who you are. So those are,
Mm,
and then when it comes to anything you do, that's one thing we don't play with: excellence.
mm.
Excellence. So those are the values that, so these are values, and like the definition I gave, and then these are using myself or my family now. That those are the values we have been indoctrinated with.
Well, I can see where your slogan comes from, leading God's people out of ignorance. Your dad told you
Yes.
that first, and you put God first in everything you do. And I love that, saying it that you're trying to lead people, God's people, out of ignorance. It's also beautiful.
Yes.
Uh, and talking about dressing properly, it's one of the ethics of pastors. I hope you agree with me, Obiamaka.
Definitely.
Ethics of pastors that you must dress well and you must not eat on the street. It
Yes,
is it is
no,
a
On the
actually,
street, yes.
in the Old Testament, the
yeah,
priests, they were
yeah.
dressed for glory and for beauty. God
Yeah,
Himself would give specifications on what a priest's robe should look like.
should be like,
So they were intentionally dressed to look good, for glory and for beauty.
yeah.
True.
Now, Obiamaka, tell me your family culture and values, especially from the Igbo side, but your family specifically.
Okay. My family values and cultures. I'll start with first of all, prayers. We're taught to pray. Okay, my mom will always say Ebele Amaka. In other words, prayers are good. So whatever it is you're doing, pray about it. She believed so much in prayers. That when you pray, you would get the solution to whatever problem it is you're facing. And she taught us that. We're also taught to serve God. I grew up watching my mom go to church like every day. She was Catholic. So in the morning, she's in the church. The early morning service, which is very inconvenient, since 6 a.m., she's there. And we had to go for the Block Rosary Crusade every evening. We'd stroll down the street and we'd be singing the song and would go for that crusade. And we went through all the sacraments in the Catholic Church. The first Holy Communion, you had to go through catechism classes. All of them went through that. So naturally, growing up, I didn't really have much of a choice than to go in the path of serving God, because it was a family value. It was modeled to me. I saw it and I followed that path. The other one was education. The family, my mom believed so much in education. My dad too. They made sure that we went to good schools that they could afford to send us to. They never shortchanged us academically. My mom will always tell you, study your books. If you study your book, the whole world is open to you. Then she will tell us, you will work in the highest office. What she meant by that is that if you study, you will be at the top, because you would have knowledge to go to where you're going to. So we didn't play with education. And right now, in my immediate family, we do not joke with that, because it is important that you get quality education that would prepare you to play an active role in your world. And then we're also taught hard work. My dad modeled hard work to us. His dad died at about when he was born, so he didn't have a silver spoon handed over to him. He had to mold his silver spoon by himself through hard work and smart work, and of course, God being on his side. So he taught us that. And my mom would echo it into our ears. The fact that you're a woman doesn't mean anything less. She would say, "One briefe." In other words, a woman is something.
And
You're a
yeah,
woman, you can make a difference. Don't
Mm.
depend on a man. She didn't train us to, okay, I'm waiting to get married, I'll marry a good husband that'll take care of me. No, you work hard, you take care of yourself, and you contribute to your home. There was a time I was in between jobs when I got married, and I had a child and I had to change jobs and all that. And she told me, you can't sit at home. I said, I know. Say, so do business. So we are taught that as a woman, you had to be independent and you had to work hard. That's the value of hard work. And we're also taught humility. You see, you should be able to relate with people from any walk of life. You don't discriminate. Don't say, oh, I'm from the rich home, I can't talk to this person. You should be able to relate to people and help them. We were taught hospitality. If someone comes to your house, which is something very common in Africa, when people come to you, you don't just welcome them in, you offer them food, you offer them water, you take care of them, you attend to their needs, and that applied to anyone. If the person came in wearing rags, you still took care of them. And when you go out there, you're able to relate with everyone. So that's humility, and that's also what I would call being socially relevant. Okay, not having classes. We're also taught to value people. Now I'm going to take that differently. I've met some parents when they go to the school and they feel that, well, you're my child's teacher, and they talk down on you.
True.
I do not know why that is obtainable, but along the line, my children's teachers have turned out to become my very good friends. They've actually become like family. Like I think Samuel said, no, that was Kimberly, that it takes a village to raise a child. So I've grown to know my children's teachers and become friends with them because of the family values you were taught. You always value people. Everyone you meet has something to contribute to the world and to you, which of course you also have something to contribute to them. Now, talking about family values, we're taught to look good. I liked it when Sam referred to that. Okay, my mom always made sure that you look good. She would tell you, take care of yourself, take care of your skin. Have you done your hair? You have to always look good. And my dad too, my dad too will model that. He always looks on point. My mom too, they always look on point. And also, talking about family values, and I was trying to make a point now, but excuse me. Yes, she always tell you something that as a woman, you have to respect yourself. When she says respect
Mm.
yourself, it felt that women were to be valued and you're not an anyhow person. So you have to carry yourself like a queen. Then my mom wouldn't
Yeah.
let us stand. We grew up in a two-story building. She wouldn't let us stand on the veranda. She would say, no, as a woman, respect yourself. Don't put yourself out there for everyone to be looking at you. You withdraw, you stay inside. Not that doesn't make you withdrawn, but you don't display yourself anyhow. She'll say it in
Oh,
Igbo.
yeah.
A woman needs to respect herself and comport herself properly so that people don't talk you down. Coming in the East, when I was growing up, they looked down on women a lot. I could remember one day I was going to school. I got to a bus, that was university. I came in first. I got a seat in front. Okay, that's where I like to sit. I had leg space. But the driver now came and said, you can why in Ghana. So in other words, you woman go to the back. I'm like,
To the
why?
back.
He said, because a man has to sit in front. I said, why? And they said, because if we're driving now and something happens, you start shouting, I can distract us. I said, no, I'm going to sit in front. I got here first, and I insisted and I sat in front. So we're taught that because you're a woman doesn't mean people should look down on you or
I
talk down
agree.
on you. No, you stand up for yourself. You have a say. You have to be regarded and you have to be respected. And that starts with you respecting yourself. I was also taught family values to be concerned about the family name. You don't go chasing riches. It's even in the Bible, a
True.
good name is more important than money. So I was taught
True.
to have a good name. Integrity. We were taught to show integrity. My mom will say, "Ehoba kagioto." In other words, keep your hands straight. What it means is that
Straight.
don't be found wanting. If you're in a transaction, don't be found wanting. Be the honest person. Be the person that has integrity. Be the one that will return the balance of the money if there's anything like that. Be the one that will give proper accounts. She believed that if you lived your life and you kept your character straight, you kept a good name, and people would always trust you and they want to do business with you or work with you or deal with you. So many things I learned, growing up, and it's really been fantastic because, like Samuel said, the family is where the child is formed. And I saw that in the Bible. Psalm 68, verse 6 says that God puts the solitary into a family. That means
Family.
God's reward for the lonely person is to give the person a family. And Kimberly made an important point. She said that your family is not just the people you were born with, but who you
Yeah,
connect to where you are. I live in
true.
Lagos, and there's what we say one near the number. In other words,
Yes,
you can meet a relative in a foreign land. I've met
true.
people here who have treated me the way my sisters would treat me, who have sacrificed for me, who have given up things to make sure I was happy and comfortable, and were not in any way related by blood. So I believe that if you're not gifted with a family, okay, probably you find yourself in a situation where probably you're an only child, a lot of people around you have died. You can create a family, you can pray and ask God to send you people. The Bible says that a good friend sticks closer than a brother. You can have a friend who
True.
would be a family to you. So you can pray and ask God to send people your way who would be like a family to you. And when they come your way, also ensure that you're a family to them by making sacrifices, by putting them first, by contributing to their lives and their well being. That's it. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Actually, I'll tell you the truth. I also had my own values that my family taught me, and you guys said almost all that I've been taught, but I can remember this very clearly, and my father keeps pondering on it when I was a teenager. That was never get yourself involved into crime. We
Mm,
believe that our name it's so precious that you should not dent that name, especially when it comes to like drugs, when it comes to like drugs, when it comes to like theft, armed robbery, like when it comes to like scam, all those kind of images that at the end of the day will drag the name of the family to the mud. You should try and make sure you keep away from it, no matter what. And I remembered one time in the family, um, a member of the family actually, that was very old, got involved in a criminal activity, and you know, unfortunately for her, she got caught. So we got everybody just kept nailing it down. Look, it doesn't favor you. Don't try and get your name. Don't try and dent that name by going into crime. Because I remember when while growing up, the age of 5, 6, when kids will try and take some adventurous steps by going to the pot to steal some meat. I remember every time I tried that thing, I got caught. No matter how vigilant and how careful I was to do it, up to the extent it happened, I think 6 years ago. We had this family um, meeting, this family gathering during the festive period. That was Christmas, and we had aunties, uncles, everybody were around. It was a full house. So there's this auntie of mine that loves cooking. Our hobby is just cooking. So she was frying something. I went to the room to get something. I think she either went to get something or something. So I and my wife was at the kitchen. So I told my wife, "Hey, let me just try and steal something today. I must steal something and succeed." My wife was laughing. She was like, "It won't favor you. You won't believe that I looked peeped. Nobody was on that way coming. She was not even close." But to my surprise, while I was just in fact, I held the meat in my hand, about to put it. I just turned back and saw somebody saying, "Well done, well done." And I told my wife, "You see, stealing doesn't help. It doesn't favor." You understand? So that's one thing I keep telling my father. Kept telling us, don't get yourself involved. That it will not favor you. If you try, you'll be caught. You understand? That's one thing I'm grateful for my dad. Another thing is don't look down on people, like you said and someone said. Dress well and always be prepared. And another thing I will not forget is integrity. It's really key. But honestly, I appreciate our values and culture that our parents really imparted on us. And please, if you're watching us, I'd like you to please on the comment section below tell us what value or culture did your family, put in you, and that you're happy to share today, like we just did. Most of us are from like Samuel is from the Yoruba part of Nigeria. Why Obiamaka is also from the Igbo part, and most of these values and culture are like from the tribe itself. We carry it on to our generations, to come. Samuel, this question is for you. Which family value and culture did like or dislike while growing up? What is the impact of this misdemeanor on the family? Can
Mm.
you speak more on that?
Okay, now the family value that I love the most, while I was growing up, seriously, I used to think our house was an hotel because on an average, there's no way you won't get up to minimum of 15 people in that house.
Wow,
I mean,
wow.
big building, different rooms while I was growing up. And this barrel of palm oil,
Mm,
the old barrel
yeah,
of palm oil,
yeah.
we use one barrel we use two barrel every month. So just to tell you the
Whoa,
number of mouths we are feeding. Now I'm
whoa.
talking of people living in our house per time will be 15,
Mm,
including us, seven of us then.
okay.
Six of us, sorry. It was years later, my two other siblings came. Now, couple with other people that will come in to be fed. So while growing up, I love people thronging around us and the way my father or my grandma will tell them stories of what's teaching them about value system. They tell them stories like the stories, our opening stories usually. That's what
Yeah.
my parents will be telling people. So years later, when this Tales by Moonlight came out, I was like,
Now,
okay. So I could identify, I could relate with Tales by Moonlight because it's there. Now the one that I really don't like, well then, but now I love it, is the issue of patience.
mm,
I my person, I'm not calm, I'm not gentle. I can't sit still for too long. And my dad, my mom, my grandma will make sure you are seated, you are comported, you cannot do anyhow. I couldn't just believe why will these people for heaven's sake punish me? Later it's called attention seeking disorder. I can't just
yeah,
sit still.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
to go.
Too
I can't.
hyperactive.
I was just hyperactive, and they forced me to sit down still. It was like they are killing me. But years later, it worked out well because I love it. Years later, but while I was growing up, too, I just felt these people just hate me. I mean, I don't know why they will hate me. This is my life. You are just trying to kill me before my time. So that's it. Now we're talking about the impact of misdemeanor on
Yeah.
family. Can you help me with the ripple effect thing, to show the picture? There's a way we can. I want us to show something
Yeah. Yeah.
now. In okay, now this ripple effect. Now the purple color talks about the individual. Then the white one talks about the family, the next one talks about the friends, and then the larger society. Now, when a person misbehaves, see it as that purple guy
Mm,
misbehaves.
mm.
It will not only affect such individual, it will affect the family, it will affect the friends, it will affect the community, and then the larger, society
Society.
together. So now our parents, we all agree that we've been brought up to not to go into scam, not to steal, just be
Yeah.
contented with what you have. Imagine a person that stole money or okay, the word now is misappropriation, right?
Yeah.
They say we should not be using embezzlement. So misappropriated money. And then you are brought in the presence of people to defend the money you have spent. And then you start speaking the grammar that does not exist. Is a disgrace to you as a person, is a
True.
disgrace to your family, to your community, even to the society. Because sometimes ago, Nigerians were regarded as the fraud master when it comes to scam.
Yes.
That is what they talk about Nigeria. If you travel out of Nigeria,
True.
they see you as the next suspect. They see you as a
True.
thief. They see as all the bad things about Nigeria, about any country, they put it on Nigeria.
Yes. Yeah.
But
True.
nobody will talk about in Nigeria the Emefiadon family that is making waves in London.
True.
Nobody will talk
True.
about Philip Emeguali that is from Nigeria.
Yeah.
Nobody will talk about the likes of Akim Olajuwon. Nobody will talk about
Yes.
Nigerians doing well overseas. Even locally, nobody will talk about those ones. Now, and when a person's behavior becomes a lifestyle, a negative behavior becomes a lifestyle, it becomes an identity on a family. So they see them as that family. This is the way they reason.
True.
There's a story of a young man who got married to a lady. He was warned not to marry the lady, but he went ahead and married her. Years later, they had issues, so they were about to separate, and then they were seated in the presence of their pastor. The lady started talking, spoke. She made a very wonderful presentation that indicted the husband. And then the pastor now said that in all these things, where was your husband's father? So she kept quiet. And then the pastor said to the man that your father is an embarrassment to have allowed this happen. Now, the guy made a mistake by marrying the wrong woman. The lady lied on him and packaged a story that is not true. Then the pastor was insulting his own father. Now, it was not the father that made the mistake of marrying the woman. It was not the father that allowed himself to be dragged in the mud, but the son's, you know, um, a mistake that has led to that. The same thing, like in Igbo land, I know Igbo Kweno, we
Wait. Wait.
practice what
Wait.
is called the caste system.
I don't know.
When a family misbehave, they call them Osu, outcast.
Yeah.
In India too, there's also the caste system. So when a person or behave in such a way that is a disgrace to the family, that label is placed on his forehead as an outcast. So it's not only his forehead alone, but his siblings, his parents, and even children yet unborn. There are some family in Igbo land now that they are regarded as Osu,
Yeah.
but the
True.
mistake that was or the error committed happened like 7 generations away. But they cannot become king, they cannot hold a chieftaincy title, things in the community. They are not respected because somebody some years back has committed a crime. The same thing happens. That's why I borrowed that picture from United Nations Office on Drug and Crime training model. When a person commits a crime, forget about you. Just think about who other people it will affect. Like someone said, when you start a war, you can only think about your strategy, but you can never know how far the war will go. You can never understand the ripple effect of that war. So when we are behaving, and that is why parents that understand what it means, train their children to be good, to have good moral standard, to have good self-esteem, to understand the essence of being born and what they are supposed to do here on earth. And I believe that a lot of parents these days, we have been carried away with the our generation, and we didn't do what our parents did. But I want to thank COVID sincerely, because it's giving some people opportunity, a second chance to make amends, sincerely speaking. So we should not leave this family value away. We should not. Now, we are looking at the social diagram also. This is talking about when a problem happens. The other time I talked about the recovery capital. Who are all these other people?
Yes.
Who are the people that can help you? And who are the people that will not help you? So they are called the recovery capital.
Okay.
To your left, that's
Yes.
the recovery capital, the friends. Then to the right
Yeah.
are maybe your friend, your place of work, or people that you have interaction with or you transact business with. But there are some people, you see, there are places that are plus, there are places that are minus. Now there are some
Yeah.
people who will not have any good impact in your life. It is not everybody you mix with. It is not everybody you mingle with. There are some people that they are minus to your life. That's what I usually do. 3 times in a year, I do send away. Now, I just did another audit yesterday. There are some people I need to walk away from because they are killing my life. Sincerely speaking,
Okay. Okay.
don't bring me back. Some people, when you mix with them, they are 6 steps behind where they are supposed to be. So we need to understand all this. And this misdemeanor come as a result of companionship. Sorry, Pastor, I have to quickly borrow scripture. It says, "Show me your friend." You know,
Yeah.
he said there's a friend that is closer than a brother. Now, there are
True.
some friends that are close to you than a brother, but they are teaching you the wrong thing.
Mm.
There are some friends that are closer than brother, they are teaching you the right thing. So you need to know the friend that is teaching you the right thing and the one that is teaching you the wrong thing. Otherwise, you are headed for a nosedive. Thank you.
Whoa. That was really hard. We're about wrapping up, and before we wrap up, I'll give everybody just one more question for us to wrap up, and we have to be brief because we're almost we're late already. Obiamaka, I really want to ask you this: what values what values of the family are you practicing now? And two questions in one: does family really matter to you?
Okay.
Let's give you 2 3 minutes on that.
Okay. I'll take the second one first. Family
Okay.
matters. Because family really matters. Family is really important. You know, your family is your support system. Okay. And when I talk about family, I talk about the traditional family, which be your parents, your siblings, your aunties, your uncles. You know, your family, they really get you. There's some things you do and your sister or your brother gets you, or an auntie, there's somebody that grew up with you, they get you. So your family is a support system. And I'm also talking about the spiritual family, okay? And then what I'll call the acquired family. I'd referenced that earlier. The people that you meet in your course in life who become your friends and they end up becoming your family. But we need to remember one thing. For every human being, there will be something about them that may put you off. Okay, I don't want to use the word that no human being is perfect. No, every human being would have something about them that might put you off. Okay, that might even be something that works for them. For example, if you have a friend or a sister who is a go-getter, and the person wants things always done right, that might get to you. They're always telling you, do this way, do that way. Okay, so coming back to it, family is very important to me because family is my support system. My immediate family, my husband, my children, they are very important to me. My siblings, my dad, my in-laws, my sisters-in-law, my aunties, they are very important to me. Why? Because they are my support system. Emotionally, they are there. We relate, we talk about things. And also my church family. My church family are very
Yeah.
important to me. We encourage ourselves in the Lord. You know, iron sharpens iron. So
Iron.
like iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron, we sharpen ourselves. Yes, and I also have the acquired family that comes from colleagues, from friends. They're also very important to me. These people have made sacrifices for me. just like I make sacrifices for them. And just because man is not created to be alone, so that fellowship with family has been part of what makes me who I am today. I do not take that for granted. Okay. I have people from colleagues, they become family, they challenge you. Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And you find yourself growing. Now, going to the other question, what values am I
The
applying in my
values.
family right now? Yes, talking about the fear of God, the reverence for God is something that is being inculcated in my family. I know God gives us a commandment, more like to teach our children His word. Okay, we adopt that in the family, and also education. You have to go for knowledge, be educated, and also being socially adaptable, being able to relate to people. Okay, we're teaching our kids that you don't look down on anybody, you help people. Life is not all about you, life is about you and others. So be willing to sacrifice and accommodate people in your space, and a whole lot of other values that we're transferring to them. Thank you.
All right, Samuel. Before we go, just 2 minutes. Tell us, does family really matter to you, and also what values that you're now transferring to your own immediate family?
Okay. Family matters. And the other time I was talking about family, where I was talking about nurturing, talking about building the future, the framework of a child, training and giving them value. So family matters, because without family, seriously, we will not be. Probably we'll still be in heaven, basking in heaven, looking for how to come to this earth. So family is important. And like I said, family also serve as our recovery capital. Whenever we have an issue, the family is a place we go to. Now, when we're talking about family, Pastor has spoken about it. I just I was looking at saying it, but she has already helped me with it. There are three kinds of family that I want us to look at. We have the spiritual, we have the physical, we have the medical family.
Yeah.
And then we have the legal family. Now, the spiritual family, she has spoken much about that. The physical family now is now also divided into two. We'll talk about the one that we're related with by blood or by law or by interaction. Now, all these people that are impacting positively into our life, they are our family. And we need to identify how we can harness the resources in all these things to become a better person. Now, somebody once told me, and I love it. He said, when people enter your life, do they live better or bitter? These people that come to our life, they have come to drop or deposit something positive into our life, either to teach us a lesson or for us to see life from another perspective. So we need to understand that. Now, it's very, very good, and it matters to me as a person. And I believe everybody watching, family should matter to you. Even if you want to say family does not matter, imagine your parent that carries you for 9 months decided to abort you. It shows that family matters. Now, the family value that I'm practicing, they are quite much, but I'll just mention three of them. One of them, my father and my grandma will always tell me, be creative in anything you do.
Yeah.
So creativity. And I've seen my boys, exhibiting creativity. Like my first child now, just scatter your room. By the time you come back, he would have rearranged it in such a way that you begin to wonder, how did you come up with this idea? So there's this creativity that I allowed them. And I already told my wife, please don't tell them you want to become a doctor or a lawyer. Let the
Mm.
thing come out by itself. That's the truth. If it's coming out by itself, like one of them now, I already know that that one might be like my baby. I think he will end up as an actor because he loves acting. So just allow it to flow. Creativity. Another thing is boldness. Never let anybody talk you down. Don't
Mm.
renege on your stand based on someone's intimidation. Believe in yourself and carry out what you have. As long as it is good, go ahead. It's not a must you belong to the majority. You might be the minority that will bring the difference. That's the thing. And the last one, with the foundation of it, God. Without God, we are nothing. Like this man will say, we are nothing but pencil in the hand of the Creator.
I agree
We
too.
are just God's
Well, I did again.
workmanship. Yes,
True.
and I always say to them, anytime we go out to do anything, tell God, glorify yourself in me. So God,
Ah, well, I want to appreciate you all, especially Obiamaka Oyabum and Sam Okayode for your time, for
Thank you.
making this program beautiful today because you people, we talked a lot. We talked a lot about this. Although we're not done with the questions because we're to talk about um, um, a decision made by parents, forcing decision on us, other topics and questions, but we're just short of time. Before we go, I would like you to please share your social media handles. We'll start with Obiamaka. Share your social media. Where can
Okay.
people meet you? And you can also talk about. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you about your website. I was to ask you about that, but I think the next time you come online, I promise to ask you that. And also, Kayode, to ask you about your organization, which it keeps skipping my mind, but I promise next time we'll talk about it. So, Obiamaka, where will people meet you, please?
Okay, I'm on Facebook and Instagram as the storyteller. The storyteller. The storyteller is TELA. So it's spelled with an emo twist. The
Yeah,
storyteller.
T
Yes.
E L A.
And I'm also
Yes.
online, yes, as www.thestoryteller.com. And the storyteller is TELA. Thank you.
All right. Sasa, Sasam. So you go on with yours.
just simply at Olu underscore Sam K. OLU underscore Sam K.
Sam A.
Yes.
On all
And
social media handles,
for
LinkedIn,
now,
Twitter.
I work more on Instagram than Facebook and Twitter. But the same thing with my Twitter and my Instagram is the same thing. Olu underscore Sam K.
Okay. To all our viewers, I want to say thank you for watching. It was a pleasure having you to join us to talk about family. Although this topic we're not done yet, we're still going to come back to it sometime in the future and talk about types of families, the reasons why we must have a family, and benefits of having a family. We'll still talk about those next time. And before we end the show, it's our custom to really give you an African proverb. Today's proverb is don't set sail using someone else's star. Meaning avoid copying someone else just because else has been successful in what he or she does should not be what will make you do the same thing and expect to be successful. So let's keep that in mind. And please don't forget to send us your questions, experiences, and also discuss this very topic on on our channels, Mind Closet 101, on Facebook, our Facebook page, Mind Closet 101. You can also send us a mail at mindcloset101 at gmail.com. Also, comment on our IBM TV Facebook page, IBM TV as well, YouTube channel, IBM TV slash YouTube channel, that's youtube.com/slash IBM TV. Comments, tell us what you feel and your experiences, also your stories. And we'll promise not to disclose your identity. We'll talk about it on our next live show. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, Brown Watching Emelu. And as you do that, please address it to the producer and the executive producer of IBM TV, Mind Closer 101. And please don't forget, don't touch that dial. Next is Med Friday. Yes, it's going on live, so you can also tune to that and watch Med. It's very important. It's very, very good for you. You get to learn. Last week I learned that you don't drink water after eating, after 1 hour. Yes, I was taught that immediately after eating, you give 1 hour space time frame to before you start drinking water. It's not good to eat late at night, especially heavy food. Time to stop taking cafes 6 p.m. some 1 p.m. So it's good for you. Please, you can tune in to learn more on health issues. So uh, our shows are still on. On Mondays, Economic Monday. Mondays is Economic Monday and also Radio Talk with Mark Lee. On Tuesday is World News COVID-19, Celebrity Tuesday, Chess Without Borders, that's Jim Ed. Don't, if in case you want to learn how to play chess, don't forget to just tune in to IBM TV on Tuesday so you could learn new strategies and get to understand chess better. Chess is a beautiful game and it's good. It helps build your IQ as well. Wednesday is Startup Wednesdays for those that are startups in business that want to really start something in life, business. You can tune into Startup Wednesdays. Weed Wednesdays are for those that want to understand weed. Well, some say it's good for the health. It's good medically. I think it's a drinking, not smoking habit, right? Right, doctor? Right, Dr. Sam? You agree with me?
There is technical.
All right, we agree on that. On Thursdays, podcast Thursdays, where all podcasters come online. We talk about life, we talk about politics, we talk everything in the world. Last week, yesterday, we talked about IQ, how to develop your IQ, and we have one of the world genius, Julian Upham. Yes, he came in online from Canada, and it was really interactive and educative. So please, I was also there online. So join us every Thursday, podcast Thursday. On Friday, we have Financial Friday also, and Med Friday, and also Mind Closet 101. On Saturday, we have Spiritual Saturday. Chess Stars with Sasha. Sasha is an international chess player, and also he's a businessman. So, in case you want to learn more about business, he has a show. Stay tuned, just and watch and learn more on chess and where you meet chess stars. Talk about your success in chess, the game chess. It's very interesting as well. We also have DJ Live on Saturday, and we have Starry Saturday. We also have Super Sunday. On Sundays, we have Super Sunday. And if you're a music lover, we have Alexandra May Cafe. Forgot to add, we also have funky music on the IBM TV for those that love funky music. I want to learn more about funky music. Don't touch that dial. Keep watching IBM TV. IBM TV is an online TV, which is the best in the world to give you that entertaining, educative, interacting, and interesting program. So God bless you. Till we meet same time, same station, especially on YouTube and also on Facebook. I still remain your host, Brian Wachinemela, and I'm signing out. God bless you. Take care and have a beautiful weekend. And thank God it's Friday. Bye.